In Moscow. It's been a very exciting 2 days. So I'm not sure what Sergey said about me, so I'll tell you a little bit about who I am. I have worked in real estate and particularly in workplace for over 35 years. I spend most of my time focusing on global occupier clients, like some of the brands you see here, in helping them use their office and their workplace to drive cultural change and to make an impact to the business. I use that information to inform investors and landlords on how to future-proof their real estate. So I want to tell you a little bit about what is changing, what I've seen change in the last 2-3 years, which is really important. The first and most important thing that's changing is that all organizations are becoming much more lean, much more agile, and much more open than ever before, because everyone is relying on open source innovation to be creative and to compete in the market. The second thing that's changing is that historically, we used to have different sectors, banks, technology companies, law firms. Today, all of those companies compete on technology innovation. So everybody competes for the same talent. That is very significant because in most centers of employment in the world, we have the lowest unemployment in history. So the search for talent and competition is enormous. And the talent is no longer just one generation, it's 4 generations at work. And what's very interesting to me is whilst they're very different, they also have a lot of things that they agree on. All 4 generations want to have choice and flexibility of how and where they work. They want to be connected with their employer. They want to learn at work, and very significantly, they expect their employer to support their lifestyle and their well-being. And the other thing that's changing is leadership in changing. Anybody know who that is? Anybody? No? Okay. It's the new CEO of Goldman Sachs. His name is David Solomon. He's also known as DJ Sol. And he is very proud that he's a DJ, because he says everyone now can come up to him and talk to him much more comfortably. So a very different management style. This is very significant because what we're seeing is that work is no longer what it was. Work is not somewhere you go to. Work is something we can do anywhere because technology allows us to. So we're seeing that work has become a network of places. And that, as you know, is driving a very big blowing up of leveraging of the different resources. Co-working, co-living, work, live, play environments. Mixed use is on a huge rise because we're creating communities that bring all 3 of these things together. What we're seeing is that as technology is now in our hand, the office has really become the city. And the things that make successful cities are relevant for the design of our offices. So the office itself begins to look more like a city. It's more complex, it's more layered, it's more open, it's more surprising and unexpected, like all good cities are. That has a very significant impact because the traditional role of the office was to show hierarchy and status and power and to demonstrate control over what people did. So the more important you are, the bigger your office, and you know that's what demonstrates that power. Well, today, the actual symbolic role of the office is to drive the representation of the culture and the values. It's a living example of the company brand. So no matter what you think, your office is saying to people who you are. And it's very important to manage that. And its function is no longer to control what people do, but its function is to build community and to build trust and to actually have people engaged with your company. So a completely different set of criteria. And that means that suddenly, for the first time, organizations are recognizing that their employee is in fact their customer. And the truth is, today, if you are in commercial real estate, you're really in the hospitality business. And if you look at some of these examples on the bottom, that corner, I don't know, left or right, you see the entrance of Boston Consulting Group's new headquarters in New York, and you see a graffiti wall that all the employees participated in doing. Imagine that 6 months before, the entrance was dark wood paneling and leather with brass BCG. It's a very, very different image. And on the other end, National Australia Bank in Melbourne opens their ground floor to invite their customers to come in and use their workplace with them to actually create a much more open and immersive environment for both their employees and customers. Completely different experiences to what we would expect. However, whilst those are great examples, unfortunately, the majority of office space does not work that well. So when I look around the world, we suffer from 4 things. The first is inefficiency. So our office spaces, typically around the world, are only used 58% of the typical working day. So very much wasted real estate. The second one in the middle is ineffectiveness. Most people, 48%, nearly half the people say their office does not support them to do their work well. And the third one is engagement. 70% of people say they're disengaged, disconnected from their workplace. And in addition, 1 in 3 people suffer from stress because of work. So it's a very bad picture of what situation we have today. From a business point of view, it doesn't stack up. The well-being piece, it costs American companies over $300 billion per annum. And in Europe, similar figures. So this is a very, very difficult picture. And what we're finding is that my large global clients are increasingly starting to look at the cost and value of real estate against the value of people. So if you think about the operational expenditure of a company, typically real estate is no more than 10 to 15% of the total operational cost. And our role in property is to reduce the 10 to 15% and make it cheaper. However, that usually negatively impacts the 80 to 90%, which is the people. So suddenly, we need to think about real estate differently. We need to think about how real estate can be used to drive very small and incremental changes on employee well-being and engagement. And our clients that do it well have some amazing figures. 65% lower employee turnover, 37% lower absenteeism. These are numbers that totally outweigh any real estate savings. So what are the things we can do to really make real estate perform well? I started earlier by saying that people want choice and flexibility. I don't know what the commute is like in Moscow, But the diagram on the left shows that the commute in London means that 85% of people in London arrive at work exhausted, fed up, angry, and ready to go home. So it's not good for their employer, right? 51% of people today say they would prefer a job that gives them flexible time over pay. So choice and flexibility is really, really important. And it drives a number of things, because if you have a choice of when you come into work, you will not come into work just to sit at a gray desk and look at your computer. When you come into the office, you want to come in and be inspired. You want to come in and be connected with people. You want to be in an environment that shows you what the organization is, allows you to collaborate meaningfully, but also to go away and focus and concentrate. It's very important to be able to do both. There's a 66% drop in performance if you cannot focus at work. The answer is not having a private office. The answer is having the right mix of spaces that give you that choice when you need it. And what's really significant is that in my career, in the last 2 years, I have seen the greatest change happen through the implementation of smart technologies and big data in the workplace. For the first time ever, we can use sensors and real-time analytics to know exactly how the workplace is being used, how it is, what works and what doesn't. We can also use our own devices to be able to know whether the environment is actually good for us. What's the CO2 level in a room? Should I be in here? We're seeing a huge amount of this, particularly in places like China and Asia, where pollution means that 1/3 of employees actually are sick because of bad air quality in the office. This is a very important element. So fresh air and light is becoming critical, but also our ability to think about the office as a stage set that changes to what we need through our ability to interact with data, day to day and hour to hour. However, the more technology becomes ubiquitous, the more as human beings we want to focus and reconnect with nature and each other. And that's really important because we're seeing more and more nature coming into the office, green walls, green spaces. Even at the other end, on the top picture, you see an actual greenhouse, which is at Cisco on their campus, and Microsoft do the same thing. So building greenhouses and gazebos that people can go into the garden and work and be in nature. Introducing circadian lighting that mirrors nature, the sound of water to make people feel subconsciously safe and reduce stress. These are huge, huge impacts. I recently was representing a big financial trading organization, and the first question they asked me about a building was, does it have circadian lighting? I thought, wow, that's amazing. Why? They said the biggest risk to our business is the health and stress levels of our traders. Circadian lighting means better quality sleep, less stress, safer trading, more profit. So it's not just good for people, it's good for business. So that is why we're starting to see investors create different models. This is a project I've been working on for the last 3 years. It is the biggest commercial speculative office development in Europe, the tallest one. It's 62 floors overall, 25,000 square feet per floor, 1.3 million square feet, and it is in the heart and the city of London. This is a very special project because this was the first project to introduce WELL certification. Does anybody know what WELL is? Anybody? Few people, great. So for those of you that don't, WELL certification actually allows you to be able to see what the impact of the building is to the human health and drive the specification decisions accordingly. So the shell and core of this building is WELL certified. It has 30% more natural light than other buildings. It has better quality air. It has art and crafts and on the ground floor and events. But most significantly, this building has over 100,000 square feet that the investors and the landlord are providing for the occupiers in the building. The idea of this building is that, unlike a traditional tall building where you go up the elevator and you don't know anybody, this creates a vertical village, a vibrant community with innovation hubs, food, relaxation spaces, a gym, but not just a gym. A gym that has a climbing wall on the glass on the 25th floor overlooking the city of London. So everything is surprising, unique, different. This also happens to be the smartest building in London, probably in Europe at the moment. It is the first building to introduce a Microsoft open backbone, which allows clients to use the cloud for real-time analytics. It allows the building owners to manage the building differently. It has facial recognition that not only lets you in the building, but if you connect to the building app, it knows what kind of coffee you like, and it will deliver it to your desk by the time you get there. So it's a building that responds to humans. It's a building that's designed around people. And more, we're seeing that buildings are designed around the value of people. The benefits are enormous. For us as individuals, it's about optimizing our time, enhancing our quality of experience, and supporting our lifestyle and wellness. Imagine leaving work feeling better than when you arrived. How many people do that now? Not many. I don't ever get anyone raise their hand with this one. But for the corporations, it's about liberating capital, supporting flexibility and agility in a very uncertain marketplace, and accessing talent and innovation through wider ecosystem connections. And finally, for our cities, it's reinvigorating them, making them more sustainable, resilient, prosperous. And the bottom line is that the entire idea is all about focusing on people and managing space, time, and experience to create lasting business value. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Despina. We touched on a few things. Мы сказали, что у нас будет время на несколько вопросов. Конечно, у нас, как обычно, будет потом время поговорить и пообщаться после всей формальной официальной части. Но если есть один-два вопроса, на которые вы думаете, которые могут быть интересны всей аудитории, можно их задать сейчас. Я с удовольствием их переведу и задавайте их прямо Деспине. Так что, пожалуйста, если есть. Если нет, то мы будем очень рады, если кто-то из вас захочет после официальной части побеседовать и продолжить дискуссию. Большое спасибо, Деспина. Я хочу